Hello, you're listening to Craven Chronicles. It's your go-to podcast to discuss the highs, the lows, and everything in between sporting Fulham FC. Today, it's a fun one. We'll be reliving Sunday's 3-2 thriller with Brentford as Fulham got their first ever win at Legoland and answer definitively who put the ball in the Brentford net. We'll then turn our attention to this weekend for the final game of the 2024-25 season as Fulham host Manchester City at Craven Cottage, where the legendary Kevin De Bruyne will play his last ever game in Sky Blue. I'm John Harland. I'm joined, as ever, by Oscar O'Kane. Oscar, I just want to just ask you straight away, what an unbelievable win on Sunday. What were your
Yeah,
thoughts? What were your thoughts at full time of that game?
I mean, yeah, ecstasy, to be honest with you. I think it was one of those ones, obviously, Palace beating City in the FA Cup. There was less jeopardy riding on the game. But I remember we said on the last podcast, it was like Operation Stop Brentford getting Europe. Now we basically know that that's kind of that their little their sort of European dream is over, as the Fulham fans continuously reminded them throughout the game in the European chants. But mate, what a way to win! And also, what I'm so happy about is that the goal scorers as well. Obviously, we're going to get onto the man himself, the man who loves a Brentford derby game. But for Tom Cairney to score on his final ever away game for the club against our local rivals. And it's also, isn't it quite fitting as well? Our last ever win away at Brentford, he grabbed the winning goal there, or he grabbed a goal in that game as well. So such a nice moment for Tom Cairney and a fantastic result against Brentford.
Yeah, we'll get on to Tom Cairney after we run through the game, but we don't know definitely that he's leaving. He said in his interviews that he wants to stay. It's down to the club.
Mm.
But if that was his last ever away game for Fulham, I mean, yeah, what a way to do it with a vintage header. Um, but yeah, you alluded to that FA Cup game.
Mm.
Um, so the context heading into the game was a bit weird, wasn't it? Because I think everyone was kind of assuming, perhaps wrongly, that City are probably going to trudge to a boring win and win another FA
Mhm.
Cup, which would have meant that eighth spot, which Brentford occupied, would be a European spot, a Europa League spot. But City won. Sorry, Palace won, meaning
Yeah.
that eighth spot is potentially off the cards. So it was a bit weird, wasn't it? Because I think Brentford, there wasn't as much riding on the game as was billed. Because I think a few weeks ago I was expecting this game to be a shootout for European football between the two West London rivals. But yeah, it was a bit weird, but I don't think that impacted the atmosphere and stuff too much. But it was just a bit weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely agreed. And I've got to say, I feel a lot better now that we lost to Palace because we lost to the winners, really, in
Yeah.
essence. And also, I think when you look across their campaign, they conceded one goal the entire FA Cup campaign. They deserved it. It was actually a masterclass from Glasner, just the way that they defended and parked the bus, and they just broke out. And what I think is the most amazing stat from their win is in the semi-final, they had five shots, four on target, three goals. Against City, two shots on target, one goal. Like, I mean, talk about like being clinical. I mean, you can't get more clinical than that. And Eze's goal as well. What a finish. I mean, I know he was a QPR Academy product. So, there's always a bit of a like, we've got that sort of QPR essence there. But Eze, just what a player, what a finish. And also it kind of harks back to that goal he scored at the Cottage as well to open his account against us in the FA Cup. But fair play to Palace, fair play to Glasner, brilliant performance. So I mean, part of me is like, I'm a bit gutted they've won their first major, kind of wanted it to be
Mm.
us. But you've got to give credit where credit's due. And I think at the start of the season, Palace were start of the season so poorly. And I think there were question marks about his future. But fair play to Steve Parris, stuck with his guns, backed Glasner. He continually delivered. Second half of the season, I think they've been superb. They won again, beat Wolves the last night, and Ketia getting in amongst the goals. So incredible for Palace. Very happy for them, and obviously lovely to watch another Pep Guardiola meltdown in an FA Cup final. Back to back defeats for City now in the FA Cup finals.
Yeah, you love to see it. I wasn't planning on bringing this up, but I may as well. It's been a bit of debate kind of online whether Fulham fans, for example, should be happy about Palace winning because it's football tribalism and they are a rival and it's kind of celebrating your enemies almost. But I think I
Mm.
probably agree with you. I think I probably agree with you. I think it is nice. It's nice. I don't see them as I don't see it as a derby really. I mean, it's technically a London derby, Fulham and Crystal Palace, but I don't really have any beef with them per se. And for me, I think it's encouraging to see a club like Palace, who are comfortably mid-table. It's kind of encouraging to see that it can be done because for the last 15 years or so, it's just been the same old names winning the trophy. So I think for teams like Fulham, it's positive because it means that we can do it. But then on the flip side, yeah, the fact that they're one of the few teams also to never win a major trophy, it's a bit annoying that they've got there first. I would have loved to have done that.
Agreed, agreed. And yeah, you made a good point there. First time a team outside the top six has won the FA Cup since Leicester in 2021. So it's nice for a change. And it gives clubs like Fulham hope, if Palace can do it. You look at Palace as well. And I think one thing that I was working on the weekend, working across it for TalkSport. I think one of the biggest things that we picked up on, I just think their recruitment has been spot on, Palace. I mean, in essence with us, and it is embarrassing to say, we signed Anderson for 30 mil, who's 28 years old. They bring in Maxence Lacroix for 18 mil, who has been one of the standout centre backs this season. I also think as well with Palace, so good at picking out championship ballers. You look at Romain S, they signed from Millwall recently. You look at Eze, of course, Adam Wharton. They tap into that market so well. And I think their recruitment, what they've shown is if you get the right recruitment with the right manager over time, you can have these successes. You can have these days out in the sun. And obviously, they had luck on their side. I mean, it was a clear red card for Henderson.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I could not believe that that wasn't a red card. I mean, he obviously denies Haaland goal scoring opportunity, handles it outside the area. But you need a bit of luck in the finals, you always do. And fair play to Palace, really won football club. Oliver Glasner won the Europa League with a really average Frankfurt team. Now he's won the FA Cup with Palace. I mean, he's a serious manager. I think he's gone under the radar. Everyone's been waxing lyrical about Nuno and obviously Arne Slot, understandably. But I think Glasner has been sensational, especially the second half of the season. So look, gutted for Fulham that we couldn't do it this season, but
Mm.
credit where credit's due and fair play to Palace. It's a fantastic moment for their clubs. And also Selhurst Park on a Europa League night is going to be
Oh yeah.
absolutely rocking.
Yeah, exactly. Palace will be on European tour. It'll be interesting to see how they handle the load with the extra fixtures, but I'm sure they'll bolster the squad. And yeah, as you mentioned, their fan base is exceptional. The scenes at Wembley, the tifo before the game, the chanting, the scenes at full time. It was really quite emotional, just from a complete neutral perspective. So yeah, fair play. But look, let's get into the Brentford game. Let's briefly run through the key match action before we go on to talk about the wider implications and everything. It was a Raul Jimenez opener, and I think we mentioned this last episode or episode before that. That is Raul's bread and butter. When it's a high ball in the air, it was Adama Traore who put in a looping. I think it's a slight deflection on the cross, but he put in a cross from the right, and then Raul just bullies the defender, gets ahead to it, and I mean, yeah, vintage Raul Jimenez yet again proving to be the bargain of the season.
Yeah, it was like a carbon copy of his goal against Everton, but just from the other side.
Yeah,
Gets between two huge defenders. He made Nathan Collins look like a twiggler practically. I mean, he just like absolutely bullied him. Got his head there. I actually think Flecken should have saved it, if we're being honest. If I always say this, I'm a bit of a believer in this. If you get your hand to it and you let it go in, you could have saved it. You could have done a little bit better. Obviously, it was a brilliant header from Raul, but Flecken, I think he'll look back at that and be a bit disappointed with his performance there. But vintage Raul, as you said, and good for him. 12 goals this season for Raul, and as you say, for 5 million, what a steal!
yeah, that's a very good return actually, very good return. Especially when you consider Muniz has got a lot of goals as well, and the minutes they've shared between the two. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the summer, whether we do sign a new striker. I still want us to. I think you need three strikers in this league, and I think Muniz, Raul, and a quality number nine. That's a great that'd be a great force. But then it's such as the way we're Fulham this season, score one goal, and then we
Mhm.
just think, nah, let's just let the other team get back into the game, concede a couple of goals because it was a Bumo with the equaliser, Visser and a Bumo combining yet again. Um, could Leno saved it? Could the defending be better? maybe. But I just think it's what we've seen from Brentford this season. Brilliant build-up play in the attack, great movement from Mbumo, and a quality finish into the corner. That's the way I see it. How did you see the equaliser?
Yeah, I think the thing that everyone talks about with Mboma is we always talk about how great his left foot is. It's incredible, but he showed there on his right foot how deadly he can be. He can use either side, and I'm not surprised that he's made Neville's team of the season. I mean, you look at his output, sensational. 19 goals, 19 assists. I mean, it's quite extraordinary what the numbers that he's pulling up here. So fair play to Mboma, fantastic play. And yeah, it was a good finish, really good finish, nice bit of upper body strength. But then, John, as per usual, it went from bad to worse then, didn't it? And he was at the
Absolutely.
center of he was at the center of it again, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite player, Anderson. Um, oh my God, I kind of wanted to talk about Anderson a little bit. He
Hmm.
Shard is one of the quickest players in the league, I think. I think that's underrated, his pace. And absolutely skins Anderson in the box. And Anderson just hauls him down for a Brentford penalty, and you're thinking, here we go again. I think
Mhm.
Anderson looks knackered. I
Yeah.
honestly, I think we've I don't know. I'm just a bit really disappointed with the signing overall this season. We can maybe discuss it next episode when we do our kind of end of season awards and the kind of summary. But just quickly, I think he's been really poor for us, and that foul kind of do you know what I mean? It's like a microcosm of his season. Or was that am I being too harsh?
No, I don't think you are. I mean, it was a silly foul. Most importantly, Shada's going nowhere. He's running down the byline.
Mm,
Don't need to look at that challenge. What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to concede a corner. That's not really the end of the world, I don't think, at all. Um, and I think, yeah, silly challenge. Issa Diop was probably sitting on the bench fuming. He's like, why am I still not starting? What's going on? But yeah, I think heading into, I don't think any Fulham player in that squad needs preseason more than Anderson. He needs a preseason. He needs a break. He needs to rest. He needs to recuperate and be raring to go next season. Because obviously he's a talented player. He's obviously a brilliant centre back. Brilliant for Denmark. Was so good in our first loan spell. Fantastic at Palace. Kind of captain Palace as well. So we know he's a really good player. He just hasn't shown it consistently enough this season. But I think he needs a preseason under his belt
yeah.
to get the batteries ready for next year.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And he was very good at the start of the season, wasn't he? And he got that injury, and then he just hasn't quite been the same since. To be fair, he has improved in recent weeks, and I don't think he necessarily had a stinker on Sunday, but that foul just annoyed me. But it mattered not because Mbumo stepping up, you're thinking goal guaranteed. Super
Mhm.
Bert Leno, big
Yeah.
German in net, had other ideas. Fantastic save. That showing why that kind of hop penalty technique doesn't always work. It looks good when it goes in, but when you miss or when it's a good save like that, it look a bit foolish. But
But it,
yeah, I think that was Leno's redemption game from his bit of a stinker at Everton because he made a great save later on. But yeah, what a
the
man!
first penalty that Burma has missed in his career as well.
Oh really?
Unbelievable. Yeah, he
That
scored
is a good
every
stat.
penalty. 19 penalties, 19 goals, and obviously got to his 20th and fluffed it in the game that you should never fluff it,
Yeah,
Brian. That's the game you can't fluff it. But yeah, he tried to sort of be cute, didn't he? He kind of tried to put it a little bit down the middle, but Burnt read him like a kipper and got his glove on it and parried it away. And that, I'll be honest with you, though, obviously I was out, but I saw on my phone 2-1 Brentford at half time. And then I saw that Burma had missed a pen, and I thought, bloody hell, how's that happened? Don't know. But yeah, brilliant for Leno. Redemption after his Everton well, what can I say?
yeah,
Butterfinger performance there. But yeah, great save. And obviously, you look at it now, without that penalty save, things could have turned out very differently. We could have been out of sight and out of the game by half time.
yeah. They did get their goal, of course, because we obviously can't hold on to a 1-0 lead. That'd be disrupt the nature of the universe did that, and it was a long throw, bit of a melee in the box. Can't remember who got a head to it, but it was basically going in, and then Visser just taps it in for his, I believe, his 18th league goal, which is unbelievable, really. And
Mhm.
you're going into half time 2-1, you're thinking, here we go again.
Yes, I agree. And I mean, Visser and Mboma just as a duo. just been outstanding. But this is goal as well. I mean, the goal we can see is so crap, such a crap goal. Like Norgard knocking it back, really poor defending, I thought. Is Anderson culpable for that one as well? I don't know. Takes a kind of a lucky deflection, but Visser taps it in. We're going to get onto another debate probably later on when we go through the goals about Visser. He was lucky to be on the pitch, mate.
Mm.
So he should never have even been there to tap that in. But yeah, it was poor defending from Fulham. And actually, in a game that we'd started quite well, story of our season, sort of as soon as we go a goal up, we just sort of sit back on the reclining sunbeds and just let them keep attacking us. But going into half time, 2-1 down, I'm gonna be honest with you, I just thought, I mean, we predicted it. I didn't think we were gonna get anything in this game. I saw
Yeah.
2-1 at half time. I thought Brentford will probably get an early third. We'll do our usual 45th to 60th minute goal conceding and then that'll be that 3-1, and then it'll probably be kind of game over. But fair play to the boys and fair play to Marco. Got the substitutions in the second half absolutely spot on. Completely changed the
Yeah.
game.
Well, let's get on to it. The substitutes. First one, Tom Cairney with a header. Oh my God.
Yeah.
When you think, oh, Tom Cairney header, you might just think a little kind of like deflection tap in. No, this was a proper striker's header, wasn't it? It was a Tete cross, kind of glanced it in. It was beautiful. And then yeah, fantastic scenes from the away end, good celebration. And then 2 minutes later,
Mhm.
the another substitute. Well, actually, before we get on to that, do you have any thoughts on the Cairney goal? Because the Wilson goal, oh my God, we can get into that in more detail.
We do a whole episode on the Wilson
Could,
goal.
honestly.
Tom Cairney, yeah, he hasn't scored many headers in his career. The only one I can remember that he scored was in the playoffs semi-final against Reading way back in 2016, first leg at the Cottage. He scored a header. I remember that quite well. I remember, I think it was Johansson had a shot, Al Habsi parried. Tom Cairney got his noggin on it and headed it past. But he's not known for his heading abilities. He's more known for his wand of a left foot. But it was a brilliant header, actually. Absolutely brilliant. And Flecken is an excellent goalkeeper as well. But just the way he glanced it into the corner. And it's such a nice moment for him as well. Absolutely. But yeah, and then obviously 2 minutes later, John, I'm going to let you
Oh
take it
my
away.
God.
It was the most magical moment from the magic man in our derby games, old Harry Wilson.
Oh my God. Yeah, he picks it up very deep, and he's sort of on the right, drifts in field, and he must be about at least 30 yards out. Just whips it
Mm.
right into the sort of bottom left corner, and it's just one of the most satisfying goals. The fact that the Kane equaliser was just 2 minutes earlier send the away end into ecstasy, into raptures. I mean, is that goal of the season? I struggling to think of a better one. We'll give a definitive answer next week, but I think
Well,
there's got to be goal of the season.
I think at the Fulham end of season awards, goal of the season, Wilson's definitely going to win it because it's either going to be that one or it's going to be his other one against Brentford.
Yeah, exactly. Which one?
So
Yeah, yeah.
he's going to be sweeping up all the awards. Well, actually, Gary Neville said that the goal of the season was that Wilson first goal in his end of season notes.
The
So
little flick.
the little flick for the equaliser, which was a
Yeah,
great. I actually, honestly, I think I said this on the pod in that pod. I genuinely thought he just like he didn't really mean it, but I think when you watch the replays, he's it's one of those ones. I'm not sure about it, but obviously that goal that he scored on Sunday, he definitely meant that. I mean, what
yeah,
it feels like it was in slow motion. Because when I watch it back, I was like, could Flecken have saved that? Like, I don't think it was hit with loads of power. But then I watched it back and I was like, just an unbelievable finish. I mean, right nestled into the bottom corner.
yeah.
And who put the ball in the Brentford net? Wilson. Do you know what I can imagine the Brentford fans would have been sitting there thinking, one player we don't want scoring is Harry Wilson. But you have to say though, you're asking for it. They let him cut in on his left foot. You can't do that when you play Wilson. The one thing you do is you send him on his right. You cannot let him drift in on his left foot and give him that opportunity because we know that's what he can do. He's proven it time and time again. And to go from 2-1 down and they've just missed a pen to go 3-2 up in the space of 2 minutes. Fair play to Marco. And you could also, what I really liked is at the end of the game, you could tell how happy Marco was with that result. Meant a lot. We'd been on a bad run of
Mm,
form. We've lost loads of games, but that was a huge win and sealed the nail on the coffin of Brentford's European tour dream.
beautiful. Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick appreciation for Harry Wilson. There's talks he could potentially be leaving. I don't know if you've seen this.
I did.
Despite Fulham triggering the year extension, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to stay. It's Fabrizio Romano actually broke the news that he's either going to sign a brand new contract or he's going to leave. So, and I would be absolutely devastated if he left. I'll be honest. I think he's underrated, really underrated, because when he was injured for that whole time, you think you really saw it. Just that those moments that that goal. Only Harry Wilson in our squad, in my opinion, is kind of capable of doing that, just out of absolutely nowhere. And you are right, they sat off and kind of invited him to do that. And if you invite Harry Wilson to have a 30-yard curler, he'll say thank you very much, shake your hand. And yeah, I really, really don't want to see him go in the summer. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking, who else? Wilson can do that. Pretty sure Carlos Vinicius on the training ground can can do that as well. Um, no, but jokes aside, look, Wilson is a brilliant player. I don't want him to leave. I'm with you. I really hope he stays. But I do worry. I think that Wilson probably sits here and thinks, I'm not really a starter. I'm a sort of
Yeah.
bench, and maybe he thinks I might want to leave because I want to be a regular starter. But then I sit here and think, well, where would he go? Where would he leave Fulham and where would he move to? I mean, I couldn't see him joining like a Leeds or a newly promoted club. I think he'd be taking a step back in his career doing that. I think if I was him, I'd stay, fight for my place. But I will say with Wilson, I just think he is such a substitute player. He's such an impact player. I just think at times we've seen when he started games this season, he slightly drifted, hasn't been as effective. And when he comes off the bench, he completely changes games. I mean, he's done it. I mean, we can talk about the two Brentford games, but even look at the Chelsea game. Comes off the bench, equalises. Then was pretty pivotal in that Muniz winner, just playing that lovely pass to Sasa Lukic, kind of the assist before the assist. He is a bit of an impact player, but maybe he's probably thinking if I want to be starting, my future isn't at Fulham. But fingers crossed that he stays because I think I agree with you. I think he's criminally underrated.
It's another example. So there's 17 goals from substitutes this season. And you're right, like you would think, oh, I'm not a starter, but then I think it's just the genius of Marco's squad management this year. The fact that I do think the squad's too thin, but as I've said in previous episodes, the actual squad, the 13, 14 players are so good and they can just come on. That's why when you look at the bench, you've got quality there that can come on. And I completely agree with you, actually. I think off the bench, he's just so impactful because he just offers something totally unique that no other player offers, and it just completely changes the way that the opposition have to just completely shifts their setup and offers another outlet. So yeah, all power to him, and yeah, I want to see more goals against Brentford next year. I mean, Brentford fans' sleep paralysis demon must be
Mm.
the Welsh wizard.
Also, before we get on to Cairney, another player I want to just single out. I thought Josh King was fantastic. Comes off the bench, superb performance. He's got such a maturity about his play, a confidence. I thought even just the little moves he was doing in the corner were fantastic. I mean, he's one for the future. I would really want to see him ingratiated more on our side for next season.
Yeah, I wanted to mention Josh King as well, actually, because thought he completely changed second half. And well, here's a question: Is he? I think he might be our best academy prospect yet in terms of ability. I honestly do because I just think he's got the most natural kind of aura. I know that aura gets that word gets used a lot, but he's not phased by the stage at all, and just looks so at home. And considering how little appearances he's made, considering he's only 18, I think he's just unbelievable. And I actually think that if the rumors that Andreas Pereira is off, I've seen rumors of 30 million euros. I mean, I think we should absolutely take that and then
Yeah.
promote Josh King to the first team entirely and have him and Smith Rowe as our two 10 options. I honestly think he is, the future of Fulham. I think we should do everything we can to make sure he doesn't go like Carvalho and Elliott and all these Pat Roberts for peanuts.
Yeah, poor old Fabio Carvalho, eh?
Yeah,
He hasn't quite lived up to the bill
no,
playing for
not
Brentford.
quite, not quite.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Josh King. I like the fact he's bold. I like the fact he never makes the simple pass. He's exciting. He takes risks. And I think sometimes when we talk about Fulham, I you and I have watched a lot of games this season. There's so much sideways passing, and as we talked about teams in the low block, what I like about King is he never does the easy pass. He always wants the difficult option. But he is a player that can kind of he can produce a moment of magic. We've seen it a few times when he's come off the bench. Just lovely little interplay and interchange between him and Iwobi and Smith Rowe. But I'm a big fan of Josh King. I like him a lot. I like Luke Harris a lot. He's just come back from his loan spell at Birmingham. I like him. I'd like to see him get a couple minutes next season if we can, or maybe another loan spell in the Championship. But he's definitely one to watch for the future, kind of in a similar role to King in that kind of attacking midfield number 10 role. But I thought when King came off the bench against Brentford, I thought his energy was absolutely outstanding and just the way he was knocking the ball with confidence and ease. And yeah, I think that Marco probably looks at, I mean, we know that Marco doesn't like playing youth players. He's not that kind of manager. But so the fact that he even plays King just
Mm.
shows you how highly he rates him. And that's the most important thing ultimately. But look, brilliant moment for King. But John, I think we got to talk about Tom Cairney. Just a bit of TC. I hope he stays, obviously, but that could have been his last ever Fulham goal, which would be a very fitting way for him to end his career. But just your thoughts on Cairney. Also, your thoughts on the scenes at the end, getting raised by Wobie and Bassi. Just such a nice moment for him to share with the Fulham fans.
I mean, you can have a debate about whether he is our biggest club legend. Genuinely, certainly in the modern era,
Mm,
I think he probably is. I think what he's done for this club. He arrived when the club was slightly in the trenches. I think we were kind of emerging from the trenches when he arrived, but we're pretty poor in a pretty dark place. And then what he's just completely elevated the club. He's been instrumental to three promotions. And what I like about Tom Cairney, he just gets it. He just kind of gets the kind of club and the fans and the relationship with the fans is really special. But
mm,
in terms of a footballer though, I think he's still got lots to offer. I know he's 34. He's no spring chicken. His work rate isn't. He's not going to be bombing up and down. I think Marco Silva's alluded to that you're not going to bring him on to do the shuttles. But when it's a low block and you just want that bit of silky, mercurial passing, it's kind of similar to Josh King in a way. It's kind of quite a nice little parallel there. I think the way that they kind of see the game. And yeah, and then it was just beautiful for him to get that goal, get that moment with
mm.
with the away fans. And to be honest, even if he's not gonna start every game or play it or even feature in every game, in my opinion, just having a player around the club like that that's been there for 10 years is so popular with the staff, players, and fans. I think it's actually crucial. As long as he's happy to take a bit of a
Mm.
step back from playing, I'll do everything we can to keep him. Yeah. What were your thoughts? Is he our biggest club legend?
I think he is. I think I agree with you. He's been with this club through thick and thin, with the good times and the bad times. He's always stuck by us. One of the best left foots I've seen at Fulham ever, no question about it. When he lines up that left-footed curler in the top corner scenes, and actually, he's arguably scored the most important goal in Fulham's history in the modern era, in that winner against Villa. Because obviously, I know that then the following season we got relegated, but winning that playoff final in 2010 was massive, absolutely massive,
Mm,
because it generated all that money from the Premier League, and obviously over time we went up and down and up and down, but if we hadn't scored that goal and we hadn't have won that final, we would have done another year at the Championship. I think we put so much energy into that season, just missing out to Cardiff in second place. I think if we'd lost to Villa, that would have been devastating. So he scored, his goal against Villa has, I think, led us to the moment that we are now because of all the money and the TV revenue we got from that. Completely revolutionised the football club in terms of our recruitment and signings. But I think that on Sunday it's going to be an interesting one, isn't it? De Bruyne's farewell could
mm,
be Cairney's farewell. Two legends of the game. Obviously, two players who've had pretty different careers. We know what De Bruyne has done in the game. We know that he's one of the greatest to ever do it. But Tom Cairney, he is in his own right a Fulham
yeah.
legend. And if De Bruyne is getting a statue, no reason that he shouldn't.
Yeah.
Say three promotions, scored some iconic goals for the club, stuck by the club. There was moments when he could have gone to West Ham when they were in their pomp. He could have gone to other clubs. I remember he was really strongly with Leicester as well at some stage, I think around the 2019, 2018 mark. But he chose to stay. He chose to be loyal, unlike some Fulham players that we've seen over the years when the big clubs come knocking. Well, West Ham. No, West Ham are a big club. I'll give. But I hate to say that. I say it with gritted teeth. But Cairney, absolute legend. And if it is his final game at the Cottage, I'm gutted that I'm missing it, actually. He will get the send-off that he truly, truly
Well,
deserves. And
yeah,
he's such a, and I'd say as well, he's such a consummate professional, such a professional. Like he knows his role. He knows he's not starting, as you say, every week. But he never moans. You never hear any bad press about him. You never see him do interviews saying, "Oh, why am I not getting a chance?" And he's also I think he's got a good career in punditry. We've seen him on MNF. He's
mm.
quite a funny lad, and he'll be very very missed if he does decide to leave. But he leaves with all of our best wishes.
Yeah. So if anyone listening are not familiar with what's potentially going down, he has been heavily linked to Wrexham in the Championship. Obviously, the Hollywood FC. Rumored like 50K a week, which is pretty unprecedented for the Championship. But as well, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I think it's essentially down to contract negotiations because Cairney said, "I want to stay." Silva said, "We want to keep him." It's just down whether they can find that deal because you have to think he's 34. He probably wants to do what's best for him, which is sign a kind of 2, 3 year extension or something, which puts him in the best possible position. Whereas the club, bit kind of similar to was it Bobby Reed last season,
Mm.
where he wanted a longer deal and weren't willing to do it. So yeah, it'd be interesting. But as you say, see if it is his last game on Sunday, I think they'll make the fans aware so that we can give him a De Bruyne style send off because yeah, I just absolutely love the man. But yeah, on Sunday we will be seeing the best midfielder ever in the Premier League and Kevin De Bruyne because
Oh,
hey,
there we go. There we go.
uh,
Had to be done, mate. Had to be done.
before anything else you want to touch on before we move on to the last game of the season next Sunday?
Absolutely not, mate. Let's dive straight
Let's
into
go
City.
into
I'm
it.
actually very. They've got a lot riding on this game as well. We have to take that into account.
Yeah, so the context, well, actually, so there was a chance that Fulham could have got European football still. This is before Brighton played Liverpool, because basically, if it's all quite confusing, but basically, if Chelsea had won the Conference League but finished outside of the top five, then eighth place could potentially have opened up again. And there was the slimmest chance that Fulham could have got it, but it would have involved some ridiculous result swings. But it didn't matter because Brighton beat Liverpool, so we can't get eighth. Um, but in terms of City, so we don't have anything to play for, just pride. And City, I think they've all but secured Champions League. For them not
Mm.
to get Champions, they're third currently. For them not to get Champions League, basically, Fulham would have to beat them, and then
Mm.
Newcastle, Chelsea, and Villa would all have to win. So
Yeah.
it could happen,
Oh,
but
never
realistically,
know.
you never
Stranger
know.
things have happened.
But the
But I know
point
what you mean.
is, yeah, the point is though, City, a City with something to play for, no matter how poor they've been this season, relatively speaking, it's still a scary prospect. And we have lost our last 17 games in a row against Manchester
Mm.
City. It's absolutely poor record. It's unbelievable.
Actually, one thing that we do have to mention, I can't believe we haven't mentioned it. We have made history, haven't we? Most ever Premier League points
Of
tally in a
course.
season.
How have we
We
not
haven't
mentioned
even
this?
mentioned that. I know. So before we even segue, we got to say fair play to the boys. Little
That's
round of
unbelievable.
applause there.
I'll tell you what, next week we're gonna do the proper end of season kind of roundup awards. We can maybe go into that. Okay, we can maybe sort of rank where this Fulham team. It is technically the best ever Fulham team in Premier League history, but we can kind of
Oh, I disagree, mate. I
well, there we go.
disagree.
We put that on ice. We can we can discuss it next week. But yeah, this City team. Oh my God. Yeah. What have you made of their season and kind of Pep and everything?
Well, I think it's been underwhelming. It's been a really, I mean, if you said to any City fan come the end of the season, no trophies, bar Community Shield, but that doesn't really count. We all know that's not really a trophy. Um, and they're kind of like struggling to make Champions League football. I know they've had their injury concerns. I know that Rodri has been injured, but even beside Rodri, I think City have been so poor. Do you remember when they went on that run, that 13 game winless run, and they were absolutely shocking, losing left, right, and centre? And I think that Pep Guardiola looks a bit stressed. I know he signed a new deal. Really strange press conference he did today, saying if I've got too many players in the squad, I'll quit. I do think that City, we are entering a new era with them. I feel like the City team right now really reminds me of Liverpool near the end of Klopp. I think that they need a massive rebuild. I think when you looked at Liverpool, really aging team, Henderson was old, Wijnaldum was old, James Milner was getting on, Thiago was getting on, and their midfield needed a revamp. And then Liverpool that summer just signed four midfielders, completely changed it. I feel like City need to have that. You look at Gundogan, very old, De Bruyne is off, got a really, really old squad in there, City, and I think that they need a bit of. I know they've made a few signings, and they've got Gonzalez. I've got to say, Marmoush, what a
Oh,
signing he
that
has
goal
been.
last night. Oh my God. Goal of the season, potentially. Apart from Harry Wilson's.
Oh yeah, of course. Apart from Harry, yeah, obviously, you know what I mean. We got to have something, haven't we, John? We've got to win. We've got to win. But Marmoush is what a hell of a signing. What a player. I
Yeah.
mean, that goal was sensational. But I think that City need a big rebuild this summer. It'll be really interesting to see what they do. Obviously, if they make Champions League, that will make their summer window a lot easier. But I think that City are. I think everyone's saying us. When Rodri's back, they're going to win the league. I really don't think it's as simple as that. Arsenal will be back. I'm sure that Liverpool will probably be stronger as well. We just don't know. But I would say that the word I'd sum it up is underwhelming. I think that they
Mm.
have been really, really poor, and I think the City fans know that they've been poor. But obviously, who can question Pep Guardiola? He's been there. He's one of the greatest to ever do it. But he's probably looking at it thinking, I'm probably going to be off in 2 years. I want to make sure I do what Jurgen did. I want to leave a really good City squad for the next manager to pick up and build on again. So he's probably thinking, if I leave City now with the squad, the state that it's in, it's going to be quite a difficult task for their next incoming manager.
Yeah, I think that's a good comparison you make with Klopp and Liverpool because it was a bit of a rebuild, wasn't it?
Mm,
From Klopp, and if I'm honest, I think their recruitment in the last two windows has been pretty poor. I know Marmoush is a good asset for sure, but then you obviously you can't take into account losing your best player, Rodri, and maybe didn't appreciate just how important he is to that team. But just I think getting Gundogan was a bit of a weird signing. I just look around. This is not quite the same. Not quite the
mm,
same sort of aura that City have. But I think that they're due about one bad season. Their dominance has just been ridiculous. I think it's the
yeah,
first season about a trophy since 2017. It's just absolutely absurd.
that's
Um,
my. But it's also even players like Phil Foden. Like it's not even. It's like he's dropped off
player of the
massively.
season last year,
I mean, what's happened to him? I mean,
Jack
he's
Grealish.
Grealish as well. I think Grealish's time is up. Honestly, I think
I
he's
agree.
I think he's off in the summer. I just think you looked at his body language. Didn't even come on against Forest. He stuck on Echeverri over Grealish. I think that just says it all, really, doesn't it, for Jack?
Yeah,
He's probably coming to the end. But yeah, I think that City. I mean, I actually think weirdly their biggest issue is they haven't replaced Julian Alvarez. I thought it was really weird when they
mm,
let him go. I thought he was really, really good player. Like him and Haaland. If Haaland had an injury problem, Alvarez plays up front, and Alvarez has been ripping up La Liga, understandably. Reports that he might come back to the Premier League, but I'd highly doubt that he does. He does move back, but I don't think they've actually really replaced him. Haaland got injured. They had no one up front really. It was really poor. And I don't. They haven't really replaced Riyad Mahrez. Savinho's been all right. He hasn't
he's a
really
bit
been
raw,
far.
isn't he?
I think his final ball is lacking a little bit. You watched it in the FA Cup final, and Doku's all right, but hasn't been up to the standards this season. So yeah, I think City are needed in for a big rebuild. But obviously they've still got quality players, and it's going to be a very tough afternoon for Fulham, to say
Yeah.
the least.
Well, I think it actually was the reverse fixture, that 3-2 loss. I think that was the. I haven't actually done the research to this, so forgive me, but I think it was like one of their last wins before that run. It was kind of there were signs of cracks, I think, in that game. Because at the time that they actually it is easy to forget they had a flying start to life this season.
Mhm.
So the fact that we should have beaten them at the Etihad. I think we
Yeah.
played we were superb that day.
Oh,
And then
God.
it's like, oh yeah, it's City. What can you do? But I think after that game, I remember that they really started to crumble. Um, so it was a slight opportunity missed in hindsight. But yeah, I think that was the best opportunity to end that now seven. I can't believe it. 17 games in a row. That's poor
Just,
form.
you reminded me of that game because I remember a Dharma had
Oh my
two
God, yeah.
on. But also that game, the best assist of the season, Raul Jimenez's flip to Pereira. Do you remember that goal?
Yeah,
That was unbelievable.
back heel, wasn't it? Yeah.
That is assist. If there was an award for assist of the season, I am biased, but that flip was. I remember watching that on the train. I think I was in Leeds. Shock. Um, but I was watching it on the train and I couldn't believe how good that assist was. Yeah, we played so well. Like if we just had any other winger apart from Adama in those
Oh,
positions, we would have at least got a point from that game.
that
Anyway.
was the it's like the ultimate catch-22 debate I remember having at the time because it's like no other player in the world could get into that position other than
Mm.
Troy, but then like yeah, it's Adama. He's not gonna finish it. But yeah.
I think that was the game when Pep was really like he was looking at Kyle Walker thinking, "Whoa, your
Oh
legs are
yeah,
going."
yeah, yeah.
Adama was absolutely skinning him every time he got
Yeah.
the ball.
It was yeah, that was almost a lot of foreshadowing that game. But look, hopefully Sunday will be as entertaining as that. Before we get on to like predictions and everything, how we think the game's gonna go. I think we touched on De Bruyne a little bit, but let's get stuck in it. I'm going to the game, and
Mm.
I think it's gonna be quite cool to see his last ever game, potentially in England, but definitely for City. Um, yeah. What more can you say about him? Like, what a player! Is he the
Yeah.
best midfielder ever in the Premier League?
I think he is. Yeah, I think he is. I just think his numbers, what he's won, what he's done to the game. I also think as well, I don't think people talk about this as much. Obviously, we can focus on, I mean, his assists are just ridiculous. One of the best passes of the ball I've ever seen. But the thing that's so underrated about De Bruyne is he's had so many setbacks. Went to Chelsea, didn't work out. Mourinho never really used him. Went to Wolfsburg. People sort of questioned that signing. Wolfsburg paid quite a lot of money for him. He delivered. Then he comes back to City. Everyone said he'd flop again. Proved everyone wrong. He's had a career, I think. He's just consistently proved people wrong throughout his entire career from early setback. It's crazy to think that Chelsea at one point had De Bruyne and Salah sitting on the bench, and they've been the two best players in the Premier League for the last 6, 7, 8 years. But what can you say about De Bruyne? He has everything. There's not a single weakness to De Bruyne's game. And I know that he's a bit older in this season, hasn't played as much, and he's had his injury problems and age, especially in that position he's playing in, takes its toll. I think he is the greatest midfielder in Premier League history. I know that people will disagree. They'll say Gerrard or Lampard or Scholes, and we hear that debate all the time. But if I'm creating an all-time Premier League 11, De Bruyne gets in for me. I just think he's absolutely sensational what he does on the ball. I mean, I think he has all the best attributes from, he's got like Lampard's shooting ability, he's got Gerrard's passing ability, he's got Scholesy's tenacity. He's got the whole package. And I think he will be a sore miss for the Premier League when he leaves City and for pastures new. And who knows where he's going to end up. But De Bruyne is unquestionably a Premier League legend, no doubt about it. What about you?
I think I agree. Yeah, I do think he is the best Premier League midfielder of all time. I know it's kind of impossible. There's no right or wrong answer really, but I certainly think he's in for a shout, and I think he is. Just some of the goals and assists that he's got are unbelievable, and his shooting, some of the goals he scored, it's just some absolute bangers on his left and right foot. Some of the assists, the way it's almost like a kind of I don't know how to describe it, where he sort of threads the needle and it's the perfect way to pass, and it's just so satisfying to watch. But even not even goals and assists, just some of the passes he'll just do for a game, just cut lines. And I remember that when they had Sane and Sterling, just an absolute dream for them, just absolutely breaking lines. And I think the reason Sterling had such an unbelievable season that was it 2019 or was probably because of De Bruyne just putting on a plate for him every single
Mm.
week. Yeah, one of my favorite players to watch ever. Genuinely, it was a pleasure watching him. I was kind are you surprised that they're letting him go? Do you think this is kind of part of the rebuild we're talking about? Obviously, his wage bill will be extortionately high.
I think it's probably the right time. I think if we're being honest, this season hasn't quite shown the levels he's done before.
A lot of
But I think it's
injuries.
the right time. He's had a lot of injuries. I also think that City again is part of their summer rebuild. It's kind of like out with the old, in with the new. This is the changing of the guard. And if De Bruyne probably thinks, I'm not really starting as much, my legs aren't really there as they used to be. I probably want to ride off into the sunset, earn loads of money, have a new adventure somewhere. I mean, I think De Bruyne in Serie A would be very exciting. Imagine him in a Napoli side under Conte. I think he'd be absolutely sensational in Italy. I mean, the thing about De Bruyne is he can find a needle in a haystack, can't he? His passing is just a joke. He plays the ball that no one else sees. It's like you're watching someone playing FIFA. I mean, he is just
Mm,
ridiculously good. And I think that one of the most underrated things about De Bruyne, just my final point on him, he's such a big game player. I look back at his career. I mean, especially when those title runs against Liverpool. I mean, I will never forget that goal he scored against Newcastle. You know, Liverpool just won. City got to win. There's 2 games left of the season. St James's Park hits it on the half volley. One of the best screamers I've seen all season. You also look at the games against Arsenal in the title race, neck and neck, man of the match performance, swats aside Arsenal 3-1, basically single-handedly wins City that game. He's a big game player. He's done it. I also think he's done it for his country, scored in World Cup quarterfinals. I just think he's been let down by other Belgian teammates. But such a big game player and a wonderful player. And I think even in his Champions League final performance against Inter, the one trophy that City wanted to win, he turned up. But I think it's probably the right time for him to move on, and I'm very intrigued to see where he's going to end up next. You know, maybe Marco Silva could give him a little quick call. You know, if he wants to move down to London and have a nice cushy life, you never know. I don't think we could afford his
mm,
350,000 a week wages. I think
maybe
that
not.
would upset a few
Well,
people. But De Bruyne, I mean, unbelievable. It's going to be such a shame when he leaves the Premier League.
yeah. I think on Sunday we should just keep him hostage in Craven Cottage. Just
Yeah.
hold him there until next season, and just I'm sure no one will notice. Just stick a kit on him and let him run. Um, where do you see how do we stop this rot of 17 losses? How do we get a result? Should we go through set up and line up? How do we do it?
Mm. Well, I think Marco Silva should call Oliver Glasner and say, "Can you send me your tactics for the FA Cup final?" I think that's kind of what we have to do, John, isn't it? We've got to just sit back,
Just
defend,
absorb the
break,
pressure a bit, yeah.
and then use players like Adama and hit them on the counter attack or Ryan Sessegnon. I think I'd set up like that. I'd set up to frustrate. Very similar to how we played at the Etihad. We sort of sat back, and then hit them on the break in a devastating fashion. But yeah, I'd be very intrigued to see what your lineup would be, mate, for the
Mm.
our final game of the season, our final line of a quite remarkable and slightly strange, but also
Mm.
exciting.
Yeah, my lineup. Um, I'd stick with the back four. I think you
Mhm.
could, to be fair, you could go for a back five, but I would stick to the back four. The same usual suspects.
You
I
keep
would
Anderson.
I would keep Anderson in. I would keep Anderson in. Just play some form into him before the end of the season. Just come on. Actually, do you know what? No, that's only because last game of the season, I'm having a bit of fun. I'm sticking D up top, mate. That's why. I
Go
reckon
on.
give him the number 9 shirt. No, so yeah, usual back four. Um, Sander and Lukic in midfield, of course.
Yeah.
I'd probably depends if he's if he's definitely leaving, I wouldn't play Andreas. But if it's still up in the air, I'd probably play Andreas for this game. So I thought he was pretty good in the reverse fixture. I mean, if you're absorbing pressure, I think you want Andreas as opposed to Smith Rowe. So I'd go for
Mhm.
Andreas. Although I wouldn't be mad if Smith Rowe started, but Andreas, and then I would go. This is a Dharma. This is a Dharma game on the right. I probably I think Iwobi. I've said it a few times. He just looks so tired. I think he needs the rest. I'd go Cess on the left, and
Mm.
yeah, Rao up top. Any changes
In-
you'd make?
Um, do you know what? I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'd put Diop over Anderson.
You would,
Because I just
yeah,
think that I trust Diop to bully Haaland more than Anderson, which is Anderson has been a bit poor. So I
yeah,
put I'd have Diop and Bassi against Haaland. I think they sort him. I think they'd spin him. I think they'd knock him off his stride a little bit. Anthony Robinson, Kenny Tete speaks for itself. Sander
yeah.
Bergluca speaks for itself. I'd have the same front three as you, but I would put Adama on the left and I'd have Ryan on the right. That's what I do. And the reason I do that is because City's right back is a weakness. They put Mateus Nunes.
Nunes, yeah.
He's not a right back. He can't really defend. And I just think Adama would scare the living daylights out of him, right, charging down that left wing in his chaotic, mad, bullish, aggressive fashion. And then, yeah, I'd have Raul up top. It's got to be Raul. Loves a little goal against City. Always does quite well. I think Raul against Diaz could be pretty good. That'd be a really intriguing battle. And also, I think also the big thing about Raul is we always talk about his finishing, but his hold-up play is outstanding. And that's what we need a striker up there, like Palace had with Mateta, who's going to hold the ball up really well and ping it out wide to Adama, ping it out to Ryan Sessegnon, which is the equivalent of Sarr and Eze for Palace to cause them problems. But that would be my team. And if we do manage to beat City, do you know what? Even if we got a draw, that would be a fantastic result. Brilliant
Yeah.
result for us.
Well, our score prediction, mine would be a draw. We're stopping the rot, but we're not quite getting a win. I'm gonna go for a nice little thrilling Sunday afternoon 2-2.
2-2. I like that. I like that. I'm going to be slightly pessimistic. This has got a De Bruyne free kick written all over it. I can just sense that he's going to score a beauty. I think it'll be 3-2 City. I think we are going to get a few. I don't think defensively they're not fantastic, but this has got De Bruyne Swan Song Screamer written all over it. So,
Did you see his miss last night?
yeah, I know.
Last little home game, miss an open net. But yeah, well that actually puts a more impetus on, De Bruyne set final goal to make up for that, doesn't it? I agree with you there. It stinks of a De Bruyne.
Yeah, it's going to be
isn't it?
a Kenny De Bruyne retirement game. I can see TC coming off the bench and like getting an assist or maybe a cheeky goal. That'd
Yeah.
be lovely.
Well,
A left turn would be beautiful to witness.
When you talk of lineups with Silva and Fulham, you kind of have to mention who you bring on because that's so important. You'll bring on Wilson, Cairney, and King. That's who the players I'd look to bring on.
I completely agree. Yeah, and actually, I quite like to see King in that against that veteran Man City aging. I think he could do a bit of a business there with his tenacity. But yeah, I know it's the last prediction of the season, and I don't want to be too negative, but I just think that this has got De Bruyne written all over it. Last game in English football, last game for City. I just think he's going to do the business. He's going to score some world, or if they get a penalty, they'll stick him on the pens. Well, either way, he'll get on.
When Anderson gives away a needless penalty and to set off.
Oh yeah, we love to see it. Yeah, it's the usual suspects.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, I'll make a prediction that King will come on, have a good cameo, and then Pep, you'll do his, he'll just like Redmond and a few other players. He'll put his arm around him, end of the game, and be like, "He's so good, so good." That's my prediction. Heard it here first. Oscar, anything else to add before we wrap up this episode?
Nothing to add, but just to say, up the boys. Hopefully, it's going to be a fantastic afternoon. I'm gutted to miss it, but enjoy, mate. Enjoy your time there. Enjoy the pitch lap of honor, clapping all the players. Make sure you clap Anderson though. I'll be watching.
Boom.
And yeah, I think I'm sad I'm not going to be there, but it's important for the fans to clap what has been still a great season. Obviously, staying up and pushing on all fronts. Obviously, could have ended up a bit better if we'd held on to a few more leads, but it's great that our final home game is City. That's always a nice one to end on, just because it's such the big club rolling into town. And I wish the boys all the best, and hopefully we'll get 3 points and enjoy yourself, fella.
Well, yeah, thank you, man. I think it'll be a really good game, good atmosphere. But that wraps up today's episode. Oscar, thank you for joining me as always. And next week we'll be wrapping up the Man City game, but also the whole season. We'll be doing end of season reflection, a few end of season awards, some serious ones, some fun ones as well. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're listening on Spotify, watching on YouTube. Make sure to give us 5 stars, it's much appreciated. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a bloody comment. Get in touch with us on Insta and Twitter, at Craven Pod. And yeah, until next time, up the Fulham.